talk about standard form. We're going to talk about graphing equations in standard form, but we're also going to talk about how do we write equations in standard form. So look back in your notes and see if you can find the page. I think it was page 22. I'm going to look real quick just to be sure I'm not lying. No, it was page 21 of your notes. What is the equation for standard form? Okay? The equation for standard form is AX plus BY equals C. Okay? The equation for standard form, AX plus BY equals C. So, what I told you before is that A stood for rate 1. And B stands for rate 2. And C stands for a constant. Okay? So understanding these three things are going to help you when it comes time to write word problems. Okay, for right now, we don't know anything else besides how to find x and y intercepts. So I'm not too worried about it, but A stands for rate 1, B stands for rate 2, and C stands for a constant. Okay, so if I'm given an equation in standard form and they ask me to graph it, okay, then I'm just going to find the x and y intercepts, and then I'm going to graph it like you guys did on your test. So this is sort of a review on how to graph in this form. So first off, you find the intercepts. So if I want the x-intercept, that's when I'm going to make y equal to 0. So we say 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 36. And then remember, 4 times 0 is just 0. So 3x equals 36. That's really what this means. This just kind of disappears. We divide by 3, and we get x equals 12. So that's the x-intercept. Then we find the y-intercept. Y-intercept. And I abbreviate that y-int. So that's where we make y a number and x equal to 0. So 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 36. That cancels out, so it's really just 4y equals 36. Divide by your 4, so y equals 9. Okay? Now, cross out this stuff down here at the bottom. This wasn't supposed to be here. Okay? So, first you find the intercepts, then you just graph them. Okay? So, we're going to graph x equals 12. So, the x and y axes are pretty hard to see on here, but let's go ahead and make them a little bit darker. So, here's the x-axis, here's the y-axis. Okay? So, I'm going to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, it doesn't fit, does it? So let's go ahead and count by 2's instead. So we want it to fit. So we'll say this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. So I'd put a dot at where the 12 is on the x-axis. So now we say y is equal to 9. So could we count by 1s on the y-axis? Yeah, we can. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Put a dot at 9. And then the last thing you do is just connect the points. Okay? So that is standard form. Alright. First we find the intercepts, then we graph them, and draw a line through them. Okay. When we're writing equations, it's important for us to think about whether or not we have a start, a rate, or a total. Okay? So when we write equations, we have to look at each of the numbers that we're seeing, and we have to decide which one of those is it. Okay? So standard form always has 2 rates. Okay? We even wrote it over here. Rate 1 and rate 2. And standard form always has a constant, and really this constant is always going to be a total. If we are talking about the rate 1 plus rate 2, then we're going to end up with a total in the end. So this constant is always going to be a total. Okay? So come over here. We're going to look at example 1. It says, paperback books are sold for $8 a book, and hardback books are sold for $16 a book. So I notice that I have $8 per book, and that is for paperback. And I have hardback books, and those hardback books are for $16 a book. Both of those numbers are rates. Sorry. Both of those numbers are rates. Okay? And then it says, if I spent $240, well, that's a total amount that I spent. So I would make that a total. So we have rate 1, and then we have rate 2, and then we have a total. I love these problems because they're so easy to write, okay? Because if I know rate 1, rate 2, and a total, then I literally write AX plus BY equals C, and I'm done. I use my 3 numbers. So rate 1 is $8 per book. Let's use P to represent the number of paperback books. So I got to use P for paperback. Then I have to use H for hardback. Notice I color coordinated. I've got the orange P and the yellow hardback. So we're going to say 8 times P, because it's a rate, and rates are multiplying. And then we're going to say 16 times H, and we're going to add them together, equals $240. Supposed to be super duper easy. Okay? 8 times the number of paperback plus 6 times the number of hardback equals $240. Okay? So if you can find 2 rates, you're always going to use standard form. Okay? Example 2. In the supermarket, apples cost 50 cents each, and grapefruits cost $2 each. If you want to spend exactly $15 at the supermarket, write an equation to represent this situation. Let A represent the number of apples you buy, and G represent the number of grapefruits you buy. Okay, so I notice that I have 2 rates. I have the first rate, which is apples cost 50 cents each. I have the second rate, which is grapefruits cost $2 each. Now I've read through the whole problem, so I already know I need to let letters represent things. So G represents the grapefruits, so I'm going to make sure that's yellow, and A represents the apples. Okay? Alright, then it says I want to spend exactly $15. That's a total. So I have 2 rates in a total. This is rate 1, this is rate 2, and this is a total. So it's easy. I just do 0.5 times A plus 2 times G equals 15. That's my total. Easy enough, right? Okay? Alright, look at example 3. A 100-point test has X questions worth 2 points apiece and Y questions worth 4 points apiece. Write an equation to represent this situation. So we're looking at our numbers, and what do we notice? Well, the total this time is how much? 100 points. Then it says X questions worth 2 points apiece. That's a rate. We're talking about X questions. So that's going to stay orange. Then it says 4 points apiece. That's another rate, and that's referring to Y questions. So we have rate 1, rate 2, and total. See how they're in a different order this time? So it's a matter of looking through the problem and trying to find which one's rates and which ones are totals. And sometimes you see starts. If you see a start, remember that's a different form. If we have a starting amount, then we're going to say that that's going to be Y equals MX plus B. But this one does not have a start. It has 2 rates and a total. So I literally write it exactly as it says. 2x plus 4y equals 100. Okay? Okay, please fold this in half, and on the outside of this paper, write graph and write equations. in standard form. And then this is going to get glued onto page 32 of your spiral. Okay? All right. The next thing you should work on is the homework assignment, and that will be due next class period.